Hey guys, welcome back for another video. What we're going to be doing today is we're going to be giving our breakdown and our reaction to the new ESPN FBI college football poll that just came out this past week. We're going to go team by team out of that top 25 and try to see if we agree with where they fell. Too high, too low, just a quick reaction on that FBI ranking. And I'll just call it like it is. There's a couple spots, a couple slots there that I do have a problem with. I think there was a little too much bias there. We all know how that works. I think some teams are a little too high, and it usually seems to favor one specific conference over the others, but that's the way it works in college football. First things first, though, make sure to hit that like button. Make sure to subscribe. If you have any comments, do you agree, disagree, drop the comments down below. I will respond to every single comment. If you want to sign up for one of our member teams, look down at the pinned comment below, click on that link. You can sign up there, and I would definitely appreciate that. Once the football season starts, both college football and NFL, we go over every single game every week. We do our predictions. We do our best bets, the money lines, the spreads, the over-unders. If you're a sports fan, if you're a football fan, this is the place. Make sure to like and subscribe to the channel. But we're looking at this FBI poll. Now, if you're thinking about FBI, you're probably saying, what does that even mean? This is just something so that ESPN has something to talk about during the offseason because they still want to bring up college football. And I would say, yeah, you are probably 100% right about that. This is a complete garbage poll that they give off during the offseason, but it lets you know where the quote-unquote professionals and the pollsters are ranking these teams talent-wise. Just to give you a quick synopsis of what ESPN views the FBI as, it says, each team's FBI is composed of predictive offensive, defensive, and special teams value as measured by a function of the expected points added, or the EPA. For some reason, they had to turn that into an acronym. That rating is the basis for FBI's game level and season level projection. So the FBI, the Football Power Index, where they think the team stacks up offensively, defensively, strength of schedule, and their overall talent base. And there's definitely some issues I have here because where they're ranking some of these teams of fall and then the amount of wins that they are predicting, they're not necessarily lining up. But let's not waste any more time. Let's see where ESPN ranks our top teams in the nation. Coming in at number one, you have the Texas Longhorns. Right now, they have a 28.5 point right now. They have them predicted to win about 10.4 games, so between 10 to 11 wins. Obviously, that's not bad. Last season, Texas had a very easy SEC schedule. This season, they do have the same, but they obviously have to get through Georgia. That was the main hiccup holding them back last season. But at least you have to respect what Texas has done the last two seasons. They've made the playoffs the last two seasons. They've been churning a lot of guys out to the NFL. They've lost a lot of skill position players. They lost Worthy 2 years ago. They lost Helm, Bond. A lot of weapons are gone. And they also lost Quinn Ewers to the NFL. So Arch Manning, probably one of the most hyped up quarterbacks in the last several years, the last decade probably, coming out of high school, mainly due to that last name. Will he be able to live up to the expectations? Will he be able to live up to the hype coming into the 2025 to 26 football season? But Steve Sarkisian, one of the better offensive minds in all of college football, they have a top 5 overall roster. They've been recruiting well. They've been working the portal. This is an extremely talented team. Some might say, why are they number one? The defending national champ should be number one. Either way, I don't really have a problem with Texas being ranked number one as of right now because of the talent, and you know there's going to be immense productivity both on the offense and the defense. They had a top 10 defense last season, top 10 in sacks, quarterback sacks, tackles for a loss. They're going to have a great front seven this season, but it's all going to hinge on Arch Manning and if he can live up to the expectations this season. Coming in at number 2, you have the Georgia Bulldogs. This is a team that was very un-Georgia-like last season. I'll just call it like it is. I think a lot of that pressure stems from Mike Bobo's offensive scheme. I'm not a fan of the way he calls plays. I don't like the plays he calls. Their running game went from usually Georgia. One thing they can always do is play the trenches. They can line up in the eye, and they can run the ball down your throat. They were like 90th in the country last season running the ball. With a team that has a number 3 overall roster loaded with 4- and 5-star players, they can't run against anyone. That makes absolutely zero sense. They got to hold up on the offensive line. They got to open up some play action there. They got to open up the run game. Carson Beck's gone. They're now bringing in Gunnar Stock, and he's a more mobile quarterback, so the rushing numbers should go up because he should be scrambling, opening up some plays down the field. But Georgia led the nation in drop passes last season. We need to see improvements on the offense, but they also did not have their standard top 20 defense last season. They were last season hovering around 40. Very un-Georgia-like, but Kirby Smart gets the Nick Saban treatment. Nick Saban's gone, so we're obviously going to bump Georgia up a little higher than maybe they are. I don't have an issue with them being number 2, but some teams maybe could make a strong case that they should maybe be in front of them. But we still know Georgia's probably going to be a playoff team no matter what. Coming in at 3, This is where you really start to see some problems developing, a lot of bias coming in, and Nick Saban's gone, so where's this pro-Alabama just bumping them up for no reason bias? Kalen DeBoer's there. Not an insult to Kalen DeBoer. Great coach. He's going to have a team that more fits his mold this season because obviously Jalen Milroe's gone. Since he's probably going to be the starting quarterback, they're going to be pushing the ball vertically down the field. Grubbs is back as the offensive coordinator. They're going to be vertical, so you're going to see more of a Washington Huskies type offense this season. No doubt Alabama loaded. Transfer portal, recruiting, 4 and 5 stars up and down the field. But this is a team that last season lost to Vanderbilt. They lost to an awful Oklahoma team, and we're putting them at number 3 this season. You at least have to show me something. You can't hinge on the fact that they're a veteran, experienced squad. Their starter for the last 2 years is gone. They're breaking in a new quarterback. Why are they number 3? In what world did we move them up to number 3? Looking at these first 3 spots, SEC, SEC, SEC. You can easily make the case that ESPN, who owns the TV records for the SEC, is showing a little too much bias here. Coming in at number 4, you have the defending national champs with a 23.8% chance to win. Bama, 9.6 wins, and the Buckeyes, 10.4, and they're number 4, and they're the defending national champions. And you can't come at me with, well, they don't have the quarterback they had last season. Howard's off to the NFL, so they have to replace him. Okay. Texas, new quarterback. Georgia, new quarterback. Alabama, new quarterback. They're all in front of Ohio State. Ohio State can line up and say to you, we have as much talent as any team ranked in front of us position on position. You can't challenge that. It is shown through recruiting rankings, portal. This team is talented. Yes, a lot of new starters coming in, but that's the case for the 3 teams in front of them too. If we're going to hold them to that level, we got to hold everyone else to it. And they're the defending champs. It used to be you are number 1 till you get supplanted. This team's going to be talented. Ryan Day there. They're going to be favored to win the Big Ten, but obviously it's going to be an onslaught there with the Ducks and Penn State. But they're number 4. I'm not attacking that, but definitely Alabama should not be ahead of the Buckeyes. Georgia probably shouldn't be. Neither should Texas. I'd have no issue if they just moved Ohio State to number 1. Coming in at number 5, the Penn State Nittany Lion, 21.5. This is actually one of the few teams coming in here that has their same quarterback coming in. Drew Aller, he's been starting there like 4 or 5 seasons now. He's like a 5th-year senior right now. Seems like he's been playing in college football for a decade at this point. We know they're going to have a lot of talent. Yes, they lost their star tight end, but they probably have the best 1-2 running back combo in the nation. Singleton, Allen, rotating those bodies, and they're going to be built in the trenches. Franklin finally got over the playoff hump. He got into the playoffs, won a playoff game. This is a team a lot of people are picking as an underdog to maybe make the national championship, maybe even win it. Why are they number 5? They're actually returning a lot of starters from last season, including the most important position, the quarterback position. Nobody on earth, if Penn State played Alabama right now, would take Alabama over Penn State betting-wise right now if we made that call. So why are they behind? That makes absolutely no sense. Coming in at 6, you have the Oregon Ducks. I do think they fell where they should have fell. Oregon, new quarterback, a lot of new playmakers, but Dan Lanning, this team's obviously stacked. They've been recruiting. They've been working the portal. They have a very loaded talent. They've been working the NIL, using it to their advantage. Very talented team. Keep your eye on them for the Big Ten title. Looking at these first 6, SEC, Big Ten, okay, whatever. It is what it is. The biggest knock here is the Buckeyes being at number 4 behind a bunch of teams in the same position as them, and at least they're the national champs. Coming in at 7, the Notre Dame Fighting Irish. Yes, they lost Riley Leonard, but I don't honestly think Riley Leonard was the reason they made the national championship. The reason they made the national championship was because of their offensive line, their top 5 statistical defense, and Love at the running back position. Love's back. That offensive line is going to be one of the best in the nation. Some people think it might be the best offensive line in the nation. And you know they're going to have a great defense. They're going to be aggressive. They force you to play their style of football. They line up. They run it down your throat. They out-physical you. But with some new pieces, with some unknowns there, I'm perfectly fine with them falling in at that 7 spot. And number 8, this is where things have completely gone off the rail. You see some unsaturated amount of bias here. You have the Texas A&M Aggies, SEC 17.9, the number 8 team in the country on the FPI. Why? When's the last time they won more than 8 or 9 games? Why? And it's not an insult to you Aggies fans, but you would admit you are not the 8th most talented team in the nation. If you think that, just go ask some people, because nobody would agree with you except the pollsters here at ESPN, showing a little too much conference bias here, and they're not even the 4th best team in the SEC. You could put Tennessee over them, LSU over them, Ole Miss over them, South Carolina over them, but they're jumped all those teams, and they're number 8 right now, breaking in Obviously, with their quarterback position, he's going to be actually starting the season. First time he had to fill in for Wegman last year. Mike Elko, good coach. They're going to be physical. They're going to have a run game. They're going to play good defense. But no one on earth would pick them as number 8. They'd probably lose to the 10 teams behind them if they played right now. Coming in at 9, you have the Miami Hurricanes with a 17.5 point ranking. With Miami at number 9, I think that's solely based around the fact of they are one of the few teams besides Penn State that has a experienced veteran quarterback coming in, Carson Beck coming in. That has to account for something. Obviously, that's a massive upgrade there without Cam Ward, because obviously Cam Ward was the number 1 overall pick. But if you're going to replace him, at least replace him with someone who's from the SEC, played the best competition before, coming to an offense that's going to fit his skill set. Miami, top 10 offensive line, top 10 running game. Carson Beck feasts off of the play action. Miami's going to run it at you. They're going to open up the play action. Shannon Dawson's offense, it's going to work wonders with Carson Beck there because they're going to play to his strengths. Heatherman taking over as the defense. That defense was atrocious last season, was a complete joke. He's going to be much improved on the defensive side. So Miami is where they should be. Tennessee Volunteers coming in at number 10. I don't necessarily have a problem with them being number 10, but obviously Nico gone. Not that Nico was a good quarterback, but you have Aguilar coming in. A little bit of unknowns because we haven't seen him in the system, but at least he's a veteran quarterback technically. And with that being said, Josh Heupel, one of the best offensive minds in college football. You know they're going to have a good offense. You know they're going to have a good defense. And they made the playoffs last year. That has to count for something. So that's going to round out the top 10 right now. And then coming in at number 11, we see another complete insult to the Clemson football team, 17.3 points. This is a team that made the playoffs last season. Cade Klubnik returning for his 3rd or 4th year as a starter. Clemson 3rd year in the Garrett Riley offense. You saw the steps he took forward last season. One of the best quarterbacks in the nation last year. And he's also an athletic mobile quarterback. This guy could throw for 35 to 4,000 yards this season and maybe even run for 600 to 700 yards. He is considered right now the Vegas favorite to win the Heisman next year, and you have Clemson coming in here at 11, coming off of making the playoffs last season with a lot of returning starters. Yes, they don't have Maffa back. Williams, really good young wide receiver room. They're going to have a good defense. They're bringing Allen over as the defensive coordinator. They're going to be physical. They're going to get a lot of tackles in the backfield. They're going to be coming after you, and they won the ACC last season. They're getting no respect here. You're putting this team behind the Texas A&M Aggies, whereas if they played this Saturday, 99.9% of the country would go with Clemson beating the Aggies, and yet you drop them all the way down here. Show them some respect. Dabo is one of only 3 active college football coaches to have a national championship victory. He's got 2 of them. They should be higher than number 11. That's a complete joke here. ESPN, tighten up. Then at number 12, you have the LSU Tigers. Brian Kelly, 4th year here. A lot of pressure on him. He has to show some results, but this is a team that is more than capable of making the playoffs this season. Garrett Nussmeier back as the quarterback. They're going to have a stacked wide receiver room. Year 2 under Blake Baker for the defense. They took massive strides last season with him. They're going to do even better this year coming into this season. They're going to show massive improvement. So look for this team to take some massive strides going forward in year 2 in this system. A lot of expectations here. Brian Kelly has to live up to the hype. There's going to be a lot of pressure on him. I have no issues with them coming in at that 12 slot. And then coming at 13, you have Ole Miss. They lost a lot from last season. They lost Jackson Dart. They lost Trey Harris, but there's a Lane Kiffin-led team. You know they're going to have a good offense. One of the highest recruited quarterbacks in their history coming in. Their defense, with Nolan gone, they're not going to be as good as they were last season. They had a top 10, top 15 defense, but they're still going to be physical. This team is still more than capable, but they have to win those games that they usually lose. They lost to Kentucky. They lost to Florida. Those should be gimme wins. That's what held them back out of the playoffs. You got to make sure that you beat the teams that you're supposed to beat, but very talented team that's going to score a lot. When you score 40 points a game, you typically have a shot in any game. Coming in next at number 14, you have the Auburn Tigers, 14.8 points. There's another one. Just like the Aggies, Auburn has zero business coming in at number 14. This is a team that was not very good last season. They had a good defense. Their offense was atrocious. Hugh Freeze, a lot of pressure on him. As he's getting closer into his contract, you have to deliver some results. They have Jackson Arnold transferring over at the quarterback position, but he did not show you anything last season that leads to any hype coming into this season. 5-star quarterback coming out of high school. He looked awful with the Sooners last season, but maybe that was the scheme. Maybe that was a system. Maybe he's going to show his promise with the Auburn Tigers, but what on earth moves you into the 14 slot? There's a team that is barely potentially capable of making a bowl game, and we're going to put them at number 14. That's going to be, but yet they only predict him at 7.5 wins, and they're number 14. If Auburn played South Carolina, they'd lose. If they played Michigan, they'd lose. If they played Florida, they'd lose. If they played USC, they'd probably lose. So they shouldn't be in front of all those teams. Coming in at 15, you have the South Carolina Gamecocks. Why are the Aggies in front of the South Carolina Gamecocks? This is a team that ESPN last season was pushing to make the Final 12 and make the playoffs, but yet this season, they're dumping them all the way in the back. Makes no sense. It's just because they're not a big SEC brand, so they're going with the bigger brands over them because it just sells better for them, because it's all really about views at the end of the day. With the Gamecocks, this is a team, Shane Beamer, they snuck up on everyone last season. They had a great season last year. They're not going to sneak up on anyone this year. Everyone's going to be looking at them. Everyone's going to be taking their game serious. Very talented team. What they did with the amount of talent they had on their team, they exceeded expectations by a lot. But everyone's going to be focused on them this year. Sellers, great season at the quarterback position. Look for him to probably throw for 25 to 3,000 yards, maybe run for 800 to 1,000 yards. Some people have him on their Heisman list. The Gamecocks last season actually had a physical top 20 defense. There's no reason why they should be coming in at 15. They didn't lose really anything from last year, and we're dumping them from people that thought that they should have made the playoffs last season. I didn't think that they should have made the playoffs. They only had 9 wins, but nonetheless, if you think they're good enough to make the playoffs last season and all those guys are coming back, they deserve to be higher than 15. 16, the Oklahoma Sooners, another one. At least they have John Mateer, veteran, experienced quarterback transferring in. He's another guy. He's going to be on the top 5 Heisman list. He can throw. He can run. And he has his offensive coordinator transferring over from Washington State. He'll be in the same system here. But also, Brent Venables under a lot of pressure. I would have them ranked. I would not have them ranked at 16. They're going to have a good defense. A lot of unknowns with the offense. They have to improve at the pass catcher position, but they were pretty banged up with injuries last season. I'd probably move them from between 20 to 25. Coming in at 17, the Michigan Wolverines, 14.6 points. They have them at about 8.4 wins. That's perfectly fine. There's probably an 8-4 team, worst case 7-5, best case 9-3. This is a team that forces you to play their style of football. Sharon Moore, they want to be physical. They want to be disciplined. They want to run the ball. They want to live off the running game, the play action, and they want to dominate with their front 7 on the defensive side. And they're going to do that. Veteran, they had some veteran players leave from last year's team because they had a couple guys that stayed over from their national championship team. But you have to give them respect because no matter who they play, don't forget, they beat the Buckeyes last year and they beat the starting squad, the Alabama Crimson Tide starting team in the bowl game. So they can technically line up with anyone and beat them. That's what gets them into that top 25 here. Coming in at number 18, the Florida Gators. DJ Lagway here. A lot of pressure on Billy Napier. A lot of pressure on him last season. They had the toughest schedule in football last year. They don't have the toughest this year. They'd probably go to the Sooners, but they probably have the second to worst schedule in all of college football. It is going to be tough. They won 8 games last year with the bowl game. I think they finished 8-5. They have to at least match that this season. If they come in here with 6 wins, Billy's probably getting fired. A lot of pressure here, but the offense will be better. The defense will be getting better. The main point is make sure to keep DJ Lagway healthy throughout 12 games of the regular season. That's the big question mark here. If they can do that, they're probably going to have a pretty decent season. Coming in at 19, you have the USC Trojans. They have Mahava coming in as the starting quarterback, transferred over last year. He's going to throw the ball. He's going to run, but he does have a lot of turnovers. Lincoln Riley, probably the best offensive mind in all of college football. He's going to have an adaptable offense. They can run it. They can throw it. Their defense last season took massive strides forward. Their defense 2 years ago was an abomination. They showed what they were capable of last season. Now it's year 2. Under D'Anton Lynn, they're going to be even better, and they have the number 1 recruiting class coming in next season. That's not going to help them this year, but they want to keep that momentum going. You have to produce on the field. And then number 20, the SMU Mustangs. This is a team that made the playoffs last season. They have a lot of returning pieces coming back. Rhett Lashley, Jennings is back. Why did we dump them all the way down to 20? They made the playoffs last season. Quarterback coming back, and they're behind Auburn. They're behind the Aggies. Makes absolutely zero sense, but it's just because they're in the ACC probably. Then you have Kansas State, finally have a Big 12 team ranked here. Kansas State, probably the favorites to win the Big 12 right now. Avery Johnson back at the quarterback position. He was the highest recruited quarterback in Kansas State history. This is a team that sometimes they lay an egg one Saturday, but when they're on, very difficult team to beat. Arkansas Razorbacks. What is Sam Pittman's team doing ranked at number 22? They are a perennial 6-7 win team. Yes, a lot of their losses are one-possession losses, but they're losses nonetheless. Arkansas in no way should be ranked on this list. They should not be in the top 25. I would say, 30 to 35. That'd be fair, but definitely not top 25. That's a joke. And then the Missouri Tigers coming in at 23. Yes, they lost Cook. They lost Burden. I don't have an issue with them being here because they're a very disciplined team. They're well coached. The talent they have on the team, this coaching staff excels at getting the most from the players on the roster. Arizona State Sun Devils is a team that won the Big 12 last season. We have them at number 24. Why on earth are they so far down? Yes, they lost Scadaboo, but they have a lot of hype coming into this season. People are saying Sam Levitt's a top 5 quarterback coming out, and we have them at 24. Makes no sense. Tyson's back at the wide receiver position. They've been working the portal hard. I'm not saying they're going to win the national championship. I'm not saying they're going to compete for the national championship, but I would take Arizona State over Missouri, over Arkansas, over USC, over Florida, over Oklahoma, over Auburn. Why are they so far down the list? And then rounding things out here in the 25, we'll just stop at that 25 point. The Nebraska Cornhuskers. Matt Rule coming over from college, NFL, coming back to college. He has Dylan Raiola here. He's going to have a disciplined team. They're going to play defense. They're going to live in the trenches. They're going to live at the line of scrimmage. That's where they're going to live and die. That's where they're going to make their name known in the extremely physical Big Ten conference. It's going to be hard for them this season, but this is a make or break season to me. They have to show massive strides going forward. They had a good start to last season, then they kind of fell off at the end. They got to continue to keep that momentum, not through the first 6 games, but over a 12-game schedule period. Guys, that's just our top 25 on our ESPN College Football Power Index, the FPI. Make sure to hit that like button. Make sure to subscribe. If you have any comments, by all means, drop them below. I will respond to every single one of them. If you want to sign up for one of our member teams, look down at the pinned comment below. Click on that link. You can sign up there. And of course, thank you for watching.